Hi, I want to take a few minutes to talk about something that someone brought to my attention one time, and it was quite powerful what they brought to my attention. They had said to me, that person that's complaining at you about their life, do they not realize who their audience is? And I was like, yeah, I know, feels really bad. So I want you to think about it from this perspective. You work at Walmart and you go out with your girlfriends who all have better jobs than you, or they get to stay home and their husbands work or their partners work and they get to stay home with the kids, and you have to work and deal with screaming children. And they all complain about how horrible it is. And you're barely making rent and you're sitting there listening to that. And there's a part of you that just goes, you've got to be kidding me. You have no idea. You have no idea. How clueless can you be sitting there complaining to me? So there's a couple of things that can happen. I'm going to tell you right now, confronting that person isn't going to be helpful, because that person is absolutely clueless and is not thinking about you. They aren't thinking about their audience. All they're thinking about is what they don't have instead of what they do have. And you can be the most grateful person without hardly anything, or have gone through a lot in your life and had so much trauma, and be so grateful and be around people who have had so much in their lives or have had so much more in their lives, and be some of the most ungrateful people. So here's what I suggest. First of all, you have to evaluate, is that relationship worth it? Are those friends really worth it? Is that person, if they're a parent, is that really worth it? If they're your child, is that relationship really worth it? If it's a partner, is that relationship really worth it? Second, you gotta decide, is it worth saying something? Is it worth ending the conversation? Is it worth saying, well, I'm really grateful for the things I have. I don't have quite as much as you have. And being a little bit of a smart ass? That's the second thing. If you're going to stay in relationship, evaluate what you're going to do when those situations come up. And then the third thing I would highly suggest is, when you're done, if you're going to stay in a relationship with people like that, give yourself self-care. Because when you get off the phone with them, you feel absolutely crappy. Because they were so unaware about your struggles. And their struggles were huge, were minute compared to your huge struggles. And it can be so hurtful and so challenging because they just don't care. And when they don't care, and theirs are, like I said, minute compared to your big ones. Now, this can go really huge for a lot of people, because I hear things like, those millennials, they don't like to work. Then I hear millennials say, we, or our younger generations, will never have anything. So we're struggling with the workplace because we won't have what our baby boomer parents have. You see, these are some of the things I'm talking about. This lack of empathy we have for each other, and not being in tune to our audience. How do you start really being in tune to your audience and what your audience is feeling? And then people around you. Really be aware. And I think the best thing in those situations is, don't silence yourself. Talk a lot about the difference between being silent and silenced. Instead, be aware, observe, figure out a strategic plan. And in that, do self-care. Make sure you do some self-care. And self-care does not look like you go out and go shopping necessarily. Self-care looks like maybe you sit down with some music, breathing, a candle. You go to a close friend and you say, man, that was really challenging to hear all that. You do some EFT. EFT is great for stuff like that. Go do an exercise. Go get the energy out with exercise. Those are things that I talk about for self-care. But this needs to be addressed because a lot of people are doing this and not realizing who they're talking to when they're telling people and they're complaining about their life. They're not realizing, the opportunities they may have had or what's gone on. And they're so in their own head and their own struggle. They can't think about, again, who their audience is. And their audience may be, as you're talking about, oh my gosh, my roof on my home. Your audience could actually be a homeless person who doesn't have a home. And you're so busy complaining about having to get a roof repaired when you have a job, when you have all these things, and that person may not even have a home. And this is where we need to learn to be aware, where we need to learn to listen to ourselves and listen to others around us, is listening to others around us as well. So on that note, I hope that this was really helpful, especially if you feel like you're one of those people where people will complain around you and you're like, stop complaining about getting a stubbed toe when I've had a broken foot. Your job is to just do your self-care and not worry about them. On that note, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.